What if I told you there's something happening to your body right now that's more dangerous than smoking 15 cigarettes a day? And it has nothing to do with your cholesterol, your blood pressure, or how often you exercise. It's invisible. It's silent. And most people over 50 are walking around with it without even knowing. I'm talking about emotional aging. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why ignoring your emotional health as you get older isn't just sad, it's actually deadly. Plus, I'll give you 3 tools that could add years to your life, starting today. But first, let me tell you about the phone call that changed everything. It was 2 a.m. when Sarah, not her real name, called me sobbing. She's 54, successful marketing executive, goes to the gym daily, takes all the right supplements. From the outside, she's the picture of healthy aging. But that night, she said something that stopped me cold. I feel like I'm disappearing, like the person I used to be is just gone. Here's what Sarah didn't know, and what most people don't realize: she wasn't just having a bad day. She was experiencing something researchers call emotional aging. And it was literally shortening her life. A groundbreaking study from Harvard followed over 700 people for 80 years, the longest study on human happiness ever conducted. What they found will shock you. People who struggle with the emotional side of aging don't just feel worse. They die sooner. We're talking about a 50% higher risk of early death. But here's the thing that really got my attention. The people who lived longest weren't the ones with the best genes or the most money. They weren't even the ones who exercised the most. They were the ones who had what I call emotional helpers, and I'm going to show you exactly what those are in just a minute. But first, we need to talk about why this is happening to so many of us. You see, we've been sold a lie about aging. We're told it's all about keeping your body young. Eat this, take that, do these exercises. And yes, physical health matters. But what nobody talks about is that your emotional world ages too. And when it ages badly, it takes everything else down with it. Think about it. When you were 25, your biggest emotional challenge was probably figuring out your career or finding the right relationship. But at 50, 60, 70, you're watching parents decline. You're grieving the future you thought you'd have. You're feeling invisible in a world that seems to be moving on without you. And here's the kicker. Most of us are trying to handle this completely alone. Let me explain what I mean by emotional aging, because this might be the most important thing you hear today. Actually, let me pause right there. Because what I'm about to share with you goes against everything you've been told about getting older. And it might make you uncomfortable. But stick with me, because this could literally save your life. Emotional aging happens in 3 predictable stages. And if you don't know what they are, you'll get blindsided by each one. Stage 1, the loss layer. This is where it starts. And I'm not just talking about the obvious losses, though those are real. I'm talking about the losses nobody prepares you for. Like the loss of being the young one in the room. The loss of feeling relevant in a rapidly changing world. The loss of the future you thought you'd have. Here's what's crazy. We have grief counselors for death, but no one talks about grieving the person you used to be while you're still alive. I had a work friend, let's call him David, who put it perfectly. He said, "I'm mourning myself and I don't even know how to do that." That's stage 1. And if you don't process these losses, they accumulate like toxins in your system. Stage 2, the identity crisis. This is where things get really interesting. Because around midlife, all the roles that defined you start to shift. You go from being the caregiver to needing care. From the mentor to the one seeking guidance. From having all the answers to having all the questions. And society doesn't help. We live in a culture that worships youth and treats aging like a disease to be cured, rather than a natural process to be navigated. But here's what the research shows, and this is where it gets hopeful. The people who navigate this stage successfully don't fight the changes. They embrace what psychologists call role flexibility. They learn to reinvent themselves without losing themselves. But before I tell you about stage 3, let me share something that might surprise you. A study published in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior found that people who actively work on their emotional health during midlife don't just feel better, they actually reverse biological markers of aging. Their telomeres get longer. Their inflammation decreases. Their brains stay sharper. In other words, taking care of your emotional world doesn't just help you feel younger. It actually makes you younger at the cellular level. Stage 3. The connection crisis. This is the stage that catches most people off guard. Because as you age, your social circle naturally shrinks. Kids move away. Colleagues retire. Old friends drift apart or pass on. And making new friends as an adult? That feels harder than dating. But here's what's fascinating. The quality of your relationships is the single strongest predictor of how well you'll age. Not your diet. Not your exercise routine. Your relationships. The famous Harvard study I mentioned earlier? They followed people for 8 decades, and their conclusion was simple. Good relationships keep us happier and healthier, period. So here's the million-dollar question. If emotional health is this important, why isn't anyone talking about it? Because it's uncomfortable. It's messy. And it doesn't fit into neat little boxes like, take this supplement or do this workout. But that's exactly why you need emotional helpers. Now, let me give you 3 practical tools you can start using today. These aren't complicated. They're simple, doable strategies that fit into real life. Tool 1. The grief audit. Every Sunday, spend 10 minutes asking yourself, what am I letting go of this week? It could be big or small. Write it down. This simple practice helps you process losses before they accumulate. Tool 2. The role reframe. When you catch yourself thinking, I'm not who I used to be, flip the script. Ask, who am I becoming? This shifts you from loss to growth. Tool 3. The connection. Calendar schedule one meaningful interaction every week. Not small talk, real connection. A phone call with an old friend. Coffee with a neighbor. A heart-to-heart with your spouse. Here's what I promised you at the beginning. There's something about aging that could be more dangerous than smoking. And that something is emotional isolation, trying to navigate the psychological challenges of getting older without support. But here's the good news. Unlike your genetics or your family history, this is something you have complete control over. You can choose to build your emotional support system. You can choose to process your losses instead of carrying them. You can choose to age emotionally well. The people who do this don't just live longer, they live better. They have deeper relationships, stronger resilience, and a sense of purpose that carries them through whatever comes next. Thank you for spending your time here. I'm grateful you're on this journey with me. Wishing you practical progress and good health. If you found this helpful, I've got more eye-opening research on longevity compounds that most people haven't ever heard of. Click the video that just appeared on your screen to discover the next piece of the healthy aging puzzle.